I have been thinking about the concept of responsivity when we're talking about assisting people with complex trauma, and that ranges from um, people who express the symptoms of that through crime, through mental health distress, through uh, underfunctioning, so people who are homeless um, and very isolated. And thinking about the services that are involved with those people, what I've noticed is there's a distinct lack of responsivity, and that translates into a distinct lack of full recovery and full thriving for these people. And wondering why that is, why those that are working with people who um, the country is financially supporting are not getting the results that you would expect of recovery, of reducing recidivism and reducing homelessness. And just from my own experiences with the different agencies and community organisations, is there seems to be a very subtle layer of um, maintenance of people in this level of functioning. I maybe I'm a bit idealistic, but I believe that people can always recover given the right support and being encouraged to believe that that's possible. But the system supporting these people almost is interested in disempowerment. And so the question is the people kind of higher up in the system, because, the frontline workers often uh, are limited by what their organisations prescribe they can and can't do. And so we really need to think at a managerial level or a CEO level or a head of department level, what is going on that you want your organisation to continue supporting disempowerment. And I can only think that it is that classic narcissistic difficulty, in that someone who has very extreme narcissistic behaviour actually has a very fragile sense of themselves, maybe a fragile sense of their capabilities, or their ability to uh, get have relationships where people voluntarily will support them, and have experienced that as a child, that this having power in, over someone else, it helps them calm themselves down, because without that they are exposed to the loss of confidence, the low self-esteem. And so if we think about how some of these organisations work, they are very much along the lines of reminding people that you are lowly. So, for example, in the mental health wing in Whangarei Hospital, it is set up like a prison unit. And in the prison unit, you have a guard room, and the officers can sit in there and see what's going on, but they're behind this bulletproof glass or something. And in the hospital, it's exactly the same. The nurses and the clinical staff spend probably 90% of their time in that uh, guard room. And it was very rare to see a clinical staff member of a kind of like nurse or a doctor, psychiatrist outside of that guard room. And it it what it does is it gives that perception of being better than, and that can soothe um, that inner hidden fear, and they are prepared to do that at the cost of what that does to other people. And that gives you some idea of the intensity of what they are suffering, but are unable to really know that that's what they're suffering, because it's very painful and frightening to consider that a strategy you developed as a child um, to manage those feelings is actually abusive. And so I just really wanted to let people know the thinking about that, um, because all those groups that I have worked with, prisoners, people in mental health, homeless, and addictions, all of those people have the capacity to be fully functioning, well adjusted participants in society with the with responsive, appropriate, and sufficient support around them. And the fact that they are not able to do that suggests that we are not providing that. And my challenge, I suppose, to whoever might be listening is to consider the not so much the bottom end of the clinicians, but to consider what is the kaupapa, what is the philosophy and the the values, not just written down, but how do they operate in practice to be client centered. And just like we have to do, maybe when we have a conflict with someone else, um, as a mature adult, I might think, gee, what's my part in this? And how can I try and communicate with the other person. And just, I believe that's what organisations working with people in this area need to be doing. There is something not working if people aren't getting better. And that's not in the people, that's in the systems that are around them.